What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Arknights Season 3, Episode 2. So this one is kind of like a lot of backstory stuff. So so it's a lot of it's focused on W getting her name, well, her title of W being Babel. Then you have the death of Scout. Then you have Tallulah like trying to sabotage something and well, failing. And then yeah, so it is very all over the place. So we see it looks like a flashback of the doctor doing stuff, So there's some issue with sarcasm. And then yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It was a little hard to keep up. But what we did get was fine. So basically W after the deaths of Babel and Teresa, see how W had her personality had changed. And yeah, so basically from what I've seen it adapts Arknights memoir. I'm not too familiar what that is. I'm not too familiar with Arknights. I've never played the game, never read any of the books and stuff. So yeah, this was definitely a lot more over the place than the previous one. So yeah, it's overall it's a lot of backstory stuff, and overall I thought it was fine. Thought this was a decent episode, Definitely a lot of stuff going on. Definitely see the Doctor acting a lot more sinister than in previous stuff. I guess than how we've seen the character previously. So yeah, overall I thought this was a good episode. Looking forward to the next one. Tougen Anki, Episode 1. So in this, this is a new anime that started. So our main character is Shiki Ichinose, who owns a lot of guns. He's a big fan of guns. Like his adoptive father, um, Tsuyoshi Ichinose. Like he make he makes runs a liquor store, and I guess while he's out to do a delivery, basically Shiki's attacked by someone from the Momotaro. Basically, it's a group that goes after Oni, and then so Shiki's father reveals that Shiki is descended from the Oni, and that's why the Momotaro are attacking him. And basically, this gets Shiki a lot of mush because he and his father had a lot of had an argument. Shiki said the only thing he's glad about is that they're not related by blood. But in the big fight, so it's revealed that the Momotaro guy, I guess, knew Shiki's father, called him Senpai, basically. So it's revealed that Shiki's father was a former Momotaro, left to take care of Shiki. Couldn't bring himself to kill him. And then yeah, so we see the fight. Then Shiki basically would do the shock of all, gets really emotional, and he transforms to some Oni form, and he's able to form and basically he starts attacking the guy, really injures that Momotaro, but when he turns back, not no remember what happened. The Momotaro guy tries to kill him, but his Shiki's father well, adopted father, but still father. Hey, yep, I mean, old Guardians of the Galaxy 2 thing was like, he may be your father, but he wasn't your daddy. That whole thing, basically. So Siki's father, takes the, takes the, gets in front of the blade before, like, it could attack Shiki, and so his father dies, and then we see, and the guy, the Momotaro guy leaves, and Shiki, like, is sad. He's like, hey, come on, hey, 'cause he's like, hey, at least give me a chance to take back, saying I was glad we weren't related. And then Shiki is knocked out by some dude. This is real. There were like, I think, like four other people with, I guess, Oni powers, and Shiki's like the fifth one. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting thing. See what happens. So yeah, so overall, it looks, so far it was an interesting episode, very similar to, like, obviously it's a, for what I've seen, everyone says is very much a lot of classic shonen tropes. Like, seeing a lot of comparisons to the first chapter of Blue Exorcist, which I agree, obviously did not do as well as Blue Exorcist. Blue Exorcist is freaking great. But I would say this was a really good episode. So this could be one of the better, like, one of the best, like, anime of the season, of this summer season. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good episode, really good pilot. Sets up that, okay, looks like there's a group of Oni that our main character is going to work for, and obviously, like, set up the basic conflict between Momotaro and Oni. See what happens. See how Shiki's gonna handle it. Yeah, overall, I really like this episode. Looking forward to the next one. Power Perry's A Madea Destination Wedding. So in this one, Brian, played by Tyler Perry, uh, basically he meets with his ex-wife Deborah and his children, BJ and Tiffany. And so Deborah is married to a rich husband, and basically she, like, was not there. So when she and Brian were married, she was not there, like, in everyone's lives because she had drug problem, which contributed to the divorce. And basically, she wasn't there for her kids. So now that she allegedly has fixed her issues, she basically buys a bunch of gifts for the kids to, like, make up for it. And she is very vain in how she acts. And so basically, BJ's like, doesn't know a lot about the real world. He's very sheltered, so it causes some personality problems for him. And Tiffany brings her boyfriend Xavier, who she had been dating for 4 months, but Brian was the only one who did not know about him. And it's revealed that they're engaged. That they got engaged after 4 months. Brian had never met the kid, so the mother and stepdad gave the blessing. The father did not. And Brian just is speechless. He can't really answer. He can't bring himself to answer. So he goes over to basically the house of his father and aunt. So like his aunt, of course, is Medea, and his father being um uh, Medea's brother, um Joe Simmons. So basically, he explains it, and so some of the other relatives like Mr. Brown, Cora, Aunt Bam, they think that Tiffany is pregnant. They think that that's why they're getting married so early. Now it's turns out that's not the case. And so Xavier, how he conducts himself, he uses the N word a lot, and he doesn't conduct himself very professionally. So like the first time he meets his now fiance's father, one, he didn't ask her for he didn't ask the father for permission to marry the daughter, which is the problem of its own. That you're supposed to do that. Like, and he conducts himself very unprofessionally. He, like I said, he uses he's like, "What up, hi." I'm not gonna say the word. I do not use that word at all. But he uses the N word a lot, and like he comes off as someone who like does a lot of illegal stuff. Like apparently he, he doesn't necessarily work. He's like a rapper, but he's a struggling rapper. So he doesn't necessarily have a lot of money. Like he conducts himself very unprofessionally. And here's the thing: if you're meeting like for any man and you're dating a woman, when you meet the girl's parents for the first time, you should always conduct yourself professionally. Doesn't mean you can't have some humor. Doesn't mean you can't like have fun, say some jokes, whatever. But professionalism should be a thing. That is just a fact. So it's revealed that it is a destination wedding. So basically, the wedding's in the Bahamas. And Brian, being the father, says he wants to pay for it since he's the bride's father. Partly, he doesn't want the wedding to occur at all. He would rather there not be because he just met the kid, and I'm with him. I'd be like, no, I would have said, hang on. I'm just meeting this kid, and y'all are engaged. I would tell the kid, I'm like, listen, let me ask you something. Why didn't you ask for my blessing? And oh yeah, one other thing, Xavier says he's like, we're about to get the blessing. He's like, well, we don't need it, but we do want it. I'm like, first off, you should never say that at all. Never tell the parents of your girlfriend that you don't need their blessing to get engaged with her. Don't ever say that. That is disrespectful. Like, it's one thing if the parents aren't in the picture, if they're just not there, where they're unfortunately not alive, or they're just out, like basically they're not in the picture. The parents aren't in the picture. That's one thing. But guess what? The parents are in the picture, or at least the father is. The mother selectively in the picture. No, he should have asked the father's permission before he even think about proposing, and that's the problem. That like I would have said, you do not have my blessing. Um, I want to get to know this kid before we this discussion can even be thought of. And so basically, the Deborah and her husband offer to pay. And it becomes like them trying to one up, like Deborah trying to one up Brian, and like basically Madea, like basically all the older people are like, yeah, what the yeah. Yeah, basically when they're so what's funny is a lot of them have to get their passports. They don't have passports. Medea is concerned because apparently she's not allowed in 92 countries. So like when she gets her passport picture taken, she faces sideways like it's a mugshot, and then she thinks like basically the cops are going to arrest her or something. So she like runs through a glass window, and it's actually the passport scene's freaking funny. It is fun. And then when they board the plane, like they obviously don't go to the airport a lot. So like what's funny is Mr. Brown like has to take a crap and like he's trying to go and then like basically someone says, hey, you gotta sit down. He's like, listen, I gotta go. I'm about to drop a bomb. And then he gets tackled by the air marshal. And then Brian's like, no, he's cool. He does not have a bomb. By bomb he means he has to take a big crap. And then Mr. Brown craps his pants and everyone's like, wow, he did drop a bomb. That bit was funny. So then when they get to the resort, basically there's like a lot of the older people like get into some shenanigans. Joe gets into a lot of shenanigans. They spend a lot of money. And then one thing that happens, Brian sees Xavier with a woman, and he assumes, you know, given the area and the way it, and given the fact that Xavier told the woman that take their discussion to the bed to like his to like a room to like a bedroom, he assumes that it's Xavier cheating on Tiffany, and I would have made that assumption too if I heard it. I would be like, oh, what the frick is going on here? I just met you. First time I've ever met you. You're engaged to my daughter, and now you're cheating on her. We're gonna have a talk right now. And basically, another thing, Medea overhears a phone conversation between Deborah and her current husband to reveal they're getting divorced. And so the reason, like, the wedding has been rushed and Tiffany didn't notice till Medea reveals it, is that basically there's a deal between Deborah and Dennis, her husband, that basically, for, like, basically, there's no prenup, so Deborah doesn't get any money and divorce, but Dennis agrees to give $1 million to BJ when he goes to college and $1 million to Tiffany when she gets married. So basically, Deborah basically convinced Tiffany to get the wedding rush, so basically they can like Tiffany could get $1 million quickly. And Medea is concerned that Deborah's going to try to take advantage of Tiffany because Tiffany is kind of like a puppet for Deborah. So kind of like So Medea's concerned that Deborah's going to try to mooch off of Tiffany with money. And Tiffany gets pissed off, and when she hears about Xavier potentially like cheating on her, she calls off the wedding. And um, then Brian tells Xavier it's time for him to have as he says, a man to boy conversation. And basically, and that's after. So one thing happens when before that, so it turns out the woman who Xavier was talking to was actually his mother. Thrilled that she was not invited. That basically Xavier and Tiffany had bonded over their issues with bad mothers, and that apparently Xavier never had a father figure. But apparently Xavier has grown up well, become a good kid. And then, so during the Mandelboy conversation, Xavier says that like basically Brian says that he's seen a lot of kids like him, and he brings race into it, which I'm like, please don't. I mean, and he's like, yeah, well, yeah, took chances, and he was surprised by some that took those chances. And he says, if you want to marry my daughter, you're gonna have to answer all my questions. And Xavier's like, what do you want to know? Basically, and gives his backstory that he used to basically deal drugs, saw his brother get killed right in front of him, and he left that life as soon as that happened. Never had a father figure. Um, Basically BJ's helping him study for a GED so he can go to college, and that he's a struggling rapper and that's why he wants to go to college, and that Tiffany basically helped him get his life in order, and that he does really care for her, that he won't let anyone hurt her. So with the whole conversation after that, basically Brian agrees to let Xavier marry Tiffany. And Tiffany had overheard the man to boy conversation, so the wedding's back on. And so Tiffany and Xavier get married, and then like everyone goes to leave. And the way goes like pretty quick, I guess, because they have to make their flight and all that. And then Brian gets the bill, and it's a really big bill from everyone, a bunch of relatives paying a bunch of money. He has to pay for it, and he faints. So yeah, so that's how the movie ends. Overall, I thought this was a decent movie. I actually thought it was a decent movie. Like, the humor is freaking funny. It is funny. Like, it is actually really funny. Like, I only watch this because it's Medea. Like the fact that it has wedding in the name would be generally for me be kind of a turnoff. It would. It would generally a movie with wedding in the name. A lot of those are gonna turn me off. but I watched this because it's a Medea movie. Medea movies are generally pretty funny, and this was freaking hilarious. I did not expect a lot of the N word to get used so much because you don't. I mean, you hear that some in a lot of Medea movies, but not like nearly as much as this one. And so yeah, I mean, Tyler Perry was great in the roles he played, and and basically like I thought this was like I thought it was a decent movie. Basically, like the humor was great. Some of the stuff you have all the older people reacting to like the Bahamas and all that. That was just hilarious. And yeah, I thought this was not bad. Like like it's like basically like a lot of the Wayne stuff. Like once find the way, they're like, yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. I was like, okay, that's funny. And then basically, of course, and the Deborah, the character, she kind of a cunt, but that's kind of the point. I mean, look, she's a recovering addict. Obviously, she has issues involved with that, and seems like she married for money. So, like, obviously, she's meant to be portrayed as a cunt. Now, obviously, she does care for her kids, but she obviously does not understand a lot about as far as that goes. Like, because the kids are like, dude, we just want you here. We don't care so much about the gifts and all that. And yeah, so, and then, yeah, I didn't like the fact so, in comes to like when the whole man to boy conversation, I didn't like the fact that race was brought up with it. I prefer he just said, I've seen a lot of young men like you, like a lot, or like a lot of young people like you, and he should have said, and Xavier's like, I mean, he's like, he's at fault for a lot of it. I'm like, he basically told the father, he told Brian he didn't need his blessing to marry his daughter, but he wants it anyway. I'm like, that I would also, if I was Brian, I would have automatically said, you do not have my blessing if that is your attitude, especially if I just met you. Like for me, I mean, I don't have kids. I don't. But I would say, you do not have my blessing if that is your attitude. You're gonna have to build. You're gonna have to gain a lot. If I'm gonna give you my daughter's hand in marriage, a lot of trust has to be earned. We have just met, so you don't have any trust. Now, if you want to go through with getting married, you're going to have to delay for a while, and we're going to have to get to know each other for a while. And that is final. Like, I would be very brutally honest about it. Like, Xavier was very disrespectful in how he conducted himself to people. Like, okay, you care for Tiffany. That is great. That is great. Good. But you should care for your fiance. But also conduct yourself professionally when you meet her family, especially when it's for the first time ever. When you get to know them a little bit, yeah, you can loosen up a little bit and you know what jokes you can make. Like know your audience when it comes to humor, like which sometimes that takes a little bit of learning. That's something that I have to learn. I mean, I am not the most sympathetic person in the world, so I do have to watch myself with what jokes I make, but that's something everyone has to do. And Xavier obviously needed to learn that. And him not wanting to talk about himself, say anything about himself, like when some of the family was trying to ask him out, I'm like, okay, that is suspicious. Like in Brian in a previous movie was investigating a mob family. Like he was I don't know if he was DA or if he was just a prosecutor, but he was like basically like he was like you know that should have sent red flag. And obviously he had contacts. He knew people like I would have been suspicious, like, okay, something's not right. And the whole bit of him trying to ask his FBI friend on intel about the that bit was fun. I'm like, there we go. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean he has experience. I mean, yeah, Brian has worked with FBI and stuff, and some guy he just met is engaged to his daughter. Yeah, I'd be suspicious too. I mean, people do target family, friends of government workers sometimes. That happens in real life. Obviously, it means it can happen in a movie. So I would be suspicious, especially since in the case of Brian, he went after a mob family. Now, it's a very loose continuity in these movies, but yeah. So overall, I thought this was a good movie. It's not like something I would put in my top 10 in movies of the year, but overall, it's a good movie. Superman. So we start out with like a little tile crawl thing. So metahumans have been a thing for 300 years. Superman crashed on Earth 30 years ago, and 3 years ago he made his debut as Superman. And then I guess mentions how like he interfered in a conflict between uh, Moravia and Jahanpur. So Moravia is an allied U.S. that's invading Jahanpur. Superman destroys Moravian equipment and threatens the leader, like the dictator, and he stops the war. But see a character calling himself the Hammer Moravia beats up Superman. His first fight, Superman never loses. So Superman lands in Antarctica. Crypto takes him to the Fortress of Solitude, and Crypto's a very unruly dog. Now this allows Luthor to find the Fortress of Solitude, and Luthor, the engineer, and then Ultraman, who was disguised as the Hammer Bravia, to steal a message from Jor-El and Laura Orphan, and then basically, like, I guess to figure out, like, try to find a way to kill Superman. And so, hmm, well, and so 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 Lois Lane, who knows who that Clark Kent Superman, does a quote interview of Superman and basically grills him on questions like a journalist should. Asks the right questions about, do you think about the consequences of his actions, how it could affect, like how like maybe he didn't think about the consequences of attacking Moravia since it's a U.S. ally, and basically how neither side is good, but there's not much that you know basically like, he can't like basically as Lex Luthor puts it, go out there half cock, do stuff, and so like basically that's like their I guess first like big fight like as a couple, and so Superman like fights this kaiju, and then Justice Gang appears to help him out, made up of Green Lantern, aka Guy Gardner, Mr. Terrific, and Hawk Girl. So they defeat the kaiju. Justice Gang kills it, even though Superman wanted to like save it, maybe take it far away to like maybe like intergalactic zoo or something. Okay, and then Luthor, Lex Luthor decodes the message, even the damaged parts, reveals that so Jor-El, Lord Van, did send Superman to Earth to because they loved him to save him, but they said humanity's weak and they want him to rule and take a harem of wives to spread his seed to restore the Kryptonian population on Earth. So public opinion turns against Superman, especially driven by some monkey bots that Lex Luthor uses in his pocket dimension. Now, Superman turns himself in, and then after having a conversation with Lois, while there's a monster fighting the Justice King, Superman doesn't help out with that monster. Yeah, and apparently the Justice King knows his identity as Clark Kent because Superman's very trusting, blindly tells him he's Superman, his secret identity. Yeah, so Luthor imprisons Superman in a pocket dimension, and Metamorpho is a prisoner there. His son Joey's a hostage, so Metamorpho transforms his hand to kryptonite to keep Superman subdued. Then Eve Tessmacher, who's like Luthor's girlfriend, who's into Jimmy Olsen, gives Jimmy intel about Luthor backing Moravia in exchange for half of Jorunport's territory as like a country under his control. And so after Luthor kills some random falafel stand guy, Metamorpho gets sad and decides to help Superman, who saves his son. And so Mr. Terrific helps Lois Lane find the portal that to the pocket dimension. Then so Crypto, who was captured by Luthor, is saved by Superman, and basically like Metamorpho, Joey, Crypto, and Superman get out. Then, pissed off, Luthor has the power to the pocket dimension reactor increased and creates a black hole that starts destroying parts of Metropolis. So then while this is going on, Moravia tries another invasion. So the Justice Gang and Metamorpho. So Green Lantern, Metamorpho, Hawkgirl stop they deal with the Moravia invasion. Hawkgirl kills Moravia's leader, while Superman and Mr. Terrific fight the Engineer and Ultraman. The Engineer's beaten up, and Ultraman's revealed to be a dumb clone of Superman. So basically, he's Bizarro. Like he's Bizarro, and they still want to call him Bizarro. Okay, so Superman defeats Ultraman by throwing him in the black hole, and he and Mr. Terrific go to Luthor Corp, which should be called the Lex Corp, but whatever. And then Mr. Terrific shuts down the reactor, closing the black hole. And Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, well, basically the Daily Planet reveals Luthor's scheme. So Superman's name's cleared, and basically a Metamorpho joins the Justice Gang. Everybody celebrates heroes. Lex Luthor's arrested, and then so Superman and Lois reconcile. Then Kara Zor-El returns from a party spree. So apparently Crypto's her dog instead of Clark's. And basically, Kara likes to go to planets with red suns so she can get drunk. Yeah. And the reason Crypto's so unruly is that he's raised by Kara. Now, in the comics, Crypto is Superman's dog, and he is Kryptonian, like you know, like Kara and Clark. was Kara's pet is Streaky the Super Cat, a cat that's accidentally injected, that's like injected with some type of kryptonite, some artificial kryptonite that like Kara tries to make. So yeah, so basically Supergirl's a party girl. Yeah, uh, uh, it's freaking dumb. So basically, yeah, that's it. So I thought this sucked. This is the worst live action Superman movie ever. As far as all Superman movies, including the cartoon ones, I haven't really seen the cartoon ones at the time of recording this, but I think those would be better. I think most, if not all, cartoon ones would be better than this piece of crap. Yeah, this is a terrible Superman movie. Like, is freaking terrible. The pacing's off. Like, and so, okay, so people don't trust Superman because he's an alien. So here's some issues. So, Hawk Girl, well, you have the whole reincarnation thing. Like, you have the whole reincarnation, but part of the issue is the whole Thanagarian. Like, you have the whole Thanagarian stuff. And, yeah. So, like, you have the whole, like, there's some Thanagarian alien DNA following, you know, Hawk Girl, so she's, like, part alien, part human, something that it's hard to explain. Hawkman and Hawkgirl stuff is a little complicated. And Guy Gardner is part of a alien police force. So they both have ties to space. Now they both are human, so that's a little different, but and Superman's all alien. So but given their ties to aliens, you think they would be mistrusted too. Like that Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl would be mistrusted too. For similar logic as Superman. And their issue. The fact that Clark Kent gives his secret identity to people, like, way too many people makes no sense. Like, so Justice Gang knows. I mean, Lois knowing, that's fine. That would have been fine if Jimmy Olsen knew. Which he doesn't, to my knowledge. But Justice Gang should not know it. Now the acting's fine. I thought, with what the actors were given, they did a good job. They just were given the pile of crap. Like, James Gunn can't do Superman. He is a traditional superhero, stands for true justice in the American way. That is not something James Gunn can't work with. He is too much of a quote unquote edge lord to do that well. Now, I mean, gosh, like Eve Tessmacher was annoying though. Then the humor didn't work. Like the stuff that was meant to be funny was not funny. Like Crypto should be a good boy. He is not a good boy. Like I was not a fan of the whole Supergirl randomly being drunk at the end. That was stupid. James Gunn's humor does not work in this. Like, if this was a parody of Superman, that would be one thing. But this is not it. And as far as the pacing goes, this was a TV show. The pacing probably would be better. And biggest issue, the message. Jor-El and Lord Lorvan's message to tell Superman to conquer Earth and build a secret harem, which has a hashtag in the movie you have. Was it super spy, super, I won't say it, but basically super crap, and secret harem are the hashtags. Like, them so like this whole Gen Z TikTok Superman. No, this is retarded. I mean, this felt like a recap episode. This felt like a recap film of a TV show that hasn't aired yet. Like, this is a bad, like, basically bad way to establish like a cinematic universe. This is a bad way to establish it. This should be a standalone Superman movie with just Superman. Now, if you're going to have Supergirl in it, it should be basically you have flashbacks to like Superman's past. You have Kara explain more about Krypton. Well, and while Clark is explaining Earth to her, and then you have flashbacks to his backstory. Like, but really, I'd say start out. It should just be Superman. No one else. As far as heroes go, you can maybe have references, but it should really just be Superman. Like, Crypto shouldn't have been in the movie. Crypto was annoying. I like dogs, but Crypto was stupid in this. The robots were dumb. Like, they were just trying to recreate the one robot, K2SO. That's what they're trying to do. Some of the dry humor with that. I'm like, just let them be robots. Just stoic. Don't make jokes about the fact they're robots. Just have the robots there. Have them be like just stoic robots who are or informative. And now Superman getting emotional stuff within context. It was better. Still kind of stupid. But Superman should have been more controlled. Especially when he was confronting Lex. And he should know he was being recorded. Like, come on. Yeah. Now, Millie Alcock as a Supergirl actually looks like Supergirl. She was not portrayed well. Not a fan of it. Doesn't bode well for the Supergirl movie. And uh, honestly, I don't have confidence in James Gunn. This is not his kind of movie. He should be doing like Booster Gold. He should not be doing Superman. Like, he shouldn't. He shouldn't be doing Superman. He should be doing Booster Gold. Blue Beetle. Like, like most of the stuff he's doing, they're not James Gunn type stuff. Like, there are characters that can work for James Gunn. Superman's not one of them. And honestly, if he can't do Superman, he definitely ain't gonna do Batman well. Because Batman is very serious. I mean, look, Superman can be just you can have a lighthearted Superman, but the thing is, you have to take it seriously. Problem is, James Gunn does not take things seriously, and that is a problem. even if it's not a serious movie, the filmmaker should take it seriously. Like, that is a sign of taking pride in work. Problem is, he doesn't, and this is the character you don't pull that crap with. Superman's character, you better take it seriously to do it well. That's what Richard Donner did. Heck, even Zack Snyder took it seriously. And Man of Steel has some problems. I would say this movie is this James Gunn. Superman's James Gunn is the worst Superman movie, at least in live action. Like, the actors are fine. Corn Sweat, if he was given these actors were actually given something to work with, this would probably be a pretty good Superman movie with better writers, better directors, not including a bunch of random pop music in the movie. Yeah, that was dumb. Like, better writers, better producers, better directors, better people in charge of music. I think it could be better. Now, as far as music goes, I was fine with so I didn't like pop music really. Period. The instrumental stuff was mostly fine. Like when they actually used John Williams, his themes. Now, different arrangements, but it's John Williams music. It was good. Every Superman movie should have John Williams' music in it. That is just a fact. But yeah, this is a terrible Superman movie. It it sucks. And it's just a bad movie. It's not anything else. The marketing campaign is some of the worst marketing I've ever seen. It's not nearly as political as the movie, as the marketing portrays it. The marketing portrayed it to be very political, and that caused problems with the box office. Like, it will cause problems to the box office. But as far as the movie itself, it's not political. It just sucks. Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.